Okay, so today we're diving into something a little bit different, a little bit spicy,
Hmm.
We're going to be talking about the Kama Sutra.
Okay.
But, you know, before anyone gets any ideas, I want to say up front that we're not just here for
Yeah,
the sensual side of things.
exactly. The Kama
Yeah.
Sutra is so much more than just a
Yeah.
bedroom guide.
Yeah.
It really is a window into ancient India. It's amazing. You get
Right.
insights into their philosophy, their social dynamics, even their idea of like
Right.
what a fulfilling life was.
Yeah. So it's more like
Yeah.
a lifestyle guide with
Mhm.
a little spicy chapter, maybe.
I think you could say that. It
Yeah.
covers so much. There's things about achieving balance in life, cultivating personal skills,
Oh,
how to find a suitable partner,
right.
and then, yes, there's the art of intimacy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
Let's start with that idea of balance.
Okay.
What did the Kama Sutra think was like essential for a good, fulfilling life?
So they highlight three main things: dharma, artha, and kama.
Okay.
Dharma is virtue, righteousness.
Right.
Artha is wealth and prosperity.
Okay.
And kama, of course, is pleasure and desire.
Right.
And what they say is that you need to balance these three things.
So it's not just about indulging, it's
Mhm.
about finding like a harmony
Yeah.
between
Yeah, exactly.
personal fulfillment, material success, and also like,
Hmm.
having a little bit of fun.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
That's part of life.
It is.
And what I think is fascinating is how practical the text gets about it.
Okay.
Like, they outline 64 arts that people should master,
64.
especially men. Yeah,
Wow. That's a lot.
that's a lot of homework.
Yeah. What were some of those?
Well, some of them were really artistic skills,
Okay.
like singing, dancing, playing music.
Okay.
It really shows how important self-expression and creativity were.
Yeah.
But then there were others that were more practical, like knowing how to identify gemstones, how to train animals,
Interesting.
even things like gambling strategically.
Wait, gambling. That seems a bit out of place.
Well, you have to remember the context. This was ancient India.
Right.
Gambling was a really common thing. It was
Right.
a sign of social status. Even,
I see. Okay.
I think the key point here is
Yeah.
that the Kama Sutra says you should try to master every area of life, even the things that people might think are a little unconventional.
Right. So it's about being well-rounded,
Exactly.
being adept at all these different fields.
Mm,
Like basically the ultimate Renaissance person.
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Right.
They wanted people to strive for excellence in every aspect of their lives.
Mm,
How they behaved personally, how they interacted socially,
okay.
and yeah, even their romantic pursuits.
And speaking of romantic pursuits,
Yeah.
let's talk about the whole finding a partner thing.
Okay.
How did the Kama Sutra deal with that in a time when arranged marriages were like the norm?
Yeah, so they acknowledged that arranged marriages were very common,
Right.
but they also discussed this concept of the Gandharva marriage,
Okay.
which was a marriage based on love and mutual consent.
Interesting. So even in that society
Mm-hmm.
where marriages were kind of like predetermined,
Yeah.
there was still room for like
Yes,
love and choice.
absolutely.
That's really interesting.
They recognized the power of attraction and how important compatibility was. In
Oh.
fact, they actually go into detail about
Yeah.
what qualities to look for in a partner.
Okay, like what?
Things like family background, social standing,
Right.
intelligence, and physical attractiveness.
I'm guessing some of those
Oh, absolutely.
would raise some eyebrows today.
Yeah, especially the social standing and those specific physical attributes.
Right.
It's a product of its time, definitely.
Yeah.
You have to approach it with that understanding.
Right.
The historical context is really important.
Yeah. But beyond those societal differences,
Yeah.
is there anything we can learn from their approach?
Oh, definitely.
Like, are there any principles that still hold true today?
I think one of the key takeaways is that they really emphasize self-awareness.
Okay.
Like knowing what you want in a partner.
Right.
They encourage people to think about their own values,
Mhm.
their desires, their needs,
Right.
before they even start looking for someone.
So it's not just about finding someone who ticks all the boxes
Yeah.
on paper.
No, not at all.
It's about finding someone who aligns with
Yeah.
who you are on the inside.
Exactly. And I think that's something that's really timeless. It resonates across cultures and time periods.
for sure.
The Kama Sutra reminds us that a fulfilling relationship really starts with understanding yourself
Right.
and what you're truly looking for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we've talked about finding a partner,
Right.
but now I'm curious about the Kama Sutra's perspective on maintaining a relationship,
Okay.
like once you're in it.
Right.
Did they have any insights on,
They did,
how to
actually.
deal with the complexities of married life?
Yeah. They devote a significant portion of the text to discussing marriage,
Oh, wow.
including what was expected of husbands and wives.
Okay.
They even delve into the complexities of polygamy.
Polygamy, that's a
Yeah.
whole other topic.
Big topic.
That's definitely something that sparks a lot of debate,
For sure.
even today.
Even today.
So what do they have to say about that?
Well, they acknowledge that it's challenging,
Okay.
that there can be conflicts, especially between the wives,
Right.
but they emphasize the importance of communication,
Okay.
respect, and understanding between everyone involved.
So even in that society where polygamy was accepted,
Yeah,
they still stressed the importance of
absolutely.
harmony and open communication.
Yes, they recognize that any successful relationship,
Yeah.
no matter its structure, takes effort, it takes understanding,
Right.
and a willingness to work through the difficult stuff.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the Kama Sutra is as much about
Oh, for sure.
the art of relationships
Yeah.
as it is about the art of lovemaking.
They're very intertwined. They
Yeah.
recognize that a fulfilling, intimate life
Yeah,
often comes from having a healthy and balanced relationship.
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here in this first part
Yeah, we have.
of our deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about finding balance in life,
Mm-hmm.
ancient Indian matchmaking.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that things are about to get a lot more interesting.
Okay.
We're going to be back to explore those more intimate teachings
All right.
of the Kama Sutra
Sounds good.
and see what kind of wisdom we can
Mm-hmm.
glean from those.
Okay.
And don't forget to check out the links in the description
Yes.
to support our channel
Yep.
and help us reach 11 million people.
Help us get there.
Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
So welcome back.
All right. So before the break, we were talking about how the Kama Sutra is not just about,
Right.
intimacy.
It's about life.
It's about all these different facets of life,
Mhm.
relationships, personal growth,
Yeah,
and, of course, the pursuit of pleasure.
exactly.
And I'm ready to dive into these facets,
Okay.
especially the pleasure part.
Right.
But before we get too deep into those waters,
Okay.
I am curious about the context.
Yeah.
We've touched on, the societal differences between ancient India and today,
Right.
but I'd love to know more about
Mm.
how those differences actually,
Yeah.
influence the way people viewed
Right.
love and intimacy.
That's a great point because to really understand the Kama Sutra,
Yeah.
you have to understand the social fabric of ancient India.
Okay.
So, for instance, the caste system
Right.
played a huge role in shaping relationships and how people interacted.
Okay.
Marriage, especially in the higher castes,
Yeah.
was often seen as a social and economic alliance,
Right.
more than a purely romantic one.
So love wasn't always the primary factor.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
it sounds a bit.
It does, yeah,
Yeah,
from a modern perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
But even within that system,
Okay.
the Kama Sutra is still talked about.
Right.
Cultivating pleasure and intimacy within a marriage,
Okay.
it offered guidance on how to build that connection.
Hmm.
Even in a partnership that wasn't necessarily based on love at the beginning.
So it wasn't just about fulfilling those obligations. It was
No.
about nurturing a genuine bond
Actually,
with your partner.
that's the idea.
That's actually really progressive
I think so.
for a text that was written
Mhm.
centuries ago.
Centuries ago, yeah.
It suggests that human desire for connection
Yeah.
and pleasure kind of transcends those societal structures.
Mhm.
But let's talk about those desires.
Okay. We keep hinting at the 64 arts of love.
Yes,
And I think our listeners are
I think so.
eager to hear more about what those entail.
All right.
Is it just a long list of positions or?
It's so much more than that.
Okay.
Think of it like a comprehensive guide
Okay.
to becoming a more mindful
Right.
and a more skilled lover.
Interesting.
It covers everything.
Okay.
From foreplay and setting the mood
Right.
to understanding your partner's body
Mhm.
and how they respond to things.
It sounds like a masterclass in intimacy.
You could say that.
All right. So
Uh,
what are some of the key principles
okay.
when it comes to the art of lovemaking?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the focus on mutual pleasure
Okay.
and satisfaction.
So it's not just about one person.
Yeah.
It's about a shared experience,
Right.
intimacy, and connection.
That's the goal.
Okay.
It's about both partners being active participants
Right.
and their pleasure being valued equally.
That's interesting.
The text also talks a lot about nonverbal communication, Okay.
the language of touch,
Right.
being attuned to your partner's cues.
It's almost like they were ahead of their time
In a lot of ways, yeah.
in recognizing how important communication is
Absolutely.
in building intimacy.
Whether it's verbal or nonverbal.
Yeah.
It's key.
Okay, now we can't talk about the Kama Sutra without addressing
Also,
those upadravyas
yes,
you mentioned earlier.
the upadravyas, those were essentially tools or devices
Okay.
that were designed to enhance pleasure
Mm.
and creativity during lovemaking.
So the ancient world's equivalent of
I guess you could put it that way.
adult toys.
Yeah, but it's important to note that
Yeah.
they didn't see these things as just for physical stimulation.
Okay.
It was about exploring different sensations
Right.
and deepening the connection between partners.
That's a really
Ah.
nuanced perspective.
Yeah.
It shows that it wasn't just about the physical act.
Right.
It was about the emotional and sensual experience. Exactly. They understood that intimacy involved all of our senses.
Right.
And they encouraged couples to be creative and playful in how they explored pleasure.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask,
Yeah.
were there any boundaries or taboos when it came to intimacy in ancient India?
Oh, absolutely.
Did the Kama Sutra address those as well?
They did. So while they encouraged exploration,
Right.
they also acknowledged
Right.
that there were social norms and boundaries that needed to be respected. For
Yeah.
example, even though they talk about polygamy,
Right.
they caution against things like jealousy and conflict within those relationships.
So even as they were diving into these intricate
Yeah.
details of pleasure and desire,
Mm-hmm.
they also emphasized
They did.
responsibility
Yeah.
and ethical conduct
Absolutely.
within those relationships.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah, okay, so I know the Kama Sutra was written at a very different time and place.
Yeah.
But are there any lessons or insights that we can actually apply
I
to
so.
modern relationships?
I think there are a lot, actually.
Okay, like what?
Well, one of the most valuable lessons is the emphasis on mindfulness.
Mindfulness. That's something that we hear a lot about today.
Yeah, it's a big buzzword.
Yeah. So how does the Kama Sutra approach mindfulness?
Well, it encourages us to savor every experience,
Okay.
to pay attention to our senses,
Right.
to really appreciate the beauty and the pleasure that can be found in everyday life,
Okay.
and especially in those intimate moments.
So it's about slowing down,
Yes.
tuning in,
Mm-hmm.
really immersing yourself in
Just
the
there,
experience.
from whether it's a simple touch,
Oh.
a loving gaze,
Yeah.
or a passionate embrace.
It's about being present,
It is.
both physically and emotionally,
Yes.
with your partner,
Absolutely.
and appreciating that connection.
It's a deeper connection.
That's a beautiful concept,
It is.
and it seems especially relevant today
Yeah, I agree.
when we're so distracted
So
by
distracted.
everything around us.
Exactly.
Right.
The Kama Sutra is like a reminder
Yeah.
to slow down, tune out the noise,
Yeah.
and just reconnect with our bodies
Mm-hmm.
and our partners
On a deeper level.
on a much deeper level.
Yeah, this has been so eye-opening.
It is fascinating.
I have to admit, I had a very different perception
Mm-hmm.
of the Kama Sutra
Yeah.
before we started this conversation.
I think a lot of people do. It's
Yeah.
so much more than just a guide to sexual positions.
It is. It's like a treasure trove of wisdom
It is.
about relationships,
Yeah.
self-discovery,
Yeah.
and the art of living a more fulfilling and
Mhm.
pleasurable life.
It really is.
It really is.
I completely agree.
Yeah, it's not just about the physical act.
No, it's about the whole package.
It's about those emotional, mental,
Mhm.
and even spiritual connections
Yeah.
that we create
That we forge with our partner.
with our partners.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into the Kama Sutra.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored so much already,
We have.
from finding a balanced life
Yeah.
to ancient Indian matchmaking
Right.
and those intriguing 64 arts of love.
It's been quite a journey.
It has been a journey.
Yeah.
And what I find really striking is how relevant a lot of these teachings still are,
I think so too.
even today, right?
Absolutely.
So for this final part,
Okay.
I want to focus on what we can actually take away
Yeah.
from the Kama Sutra.
Right.
What wisdom can we apply
Right.
to our modern relationships and our own pursuit
Yeah.
of pleasure and fulfillment?
That's a great question. It's something a lot of people think about
Right.
when they encounter this text
Right.
because we live in a very different world
We do.
than the one that the Kama Sutra came from.
Right.
But even with those differences, I
Yeah.
think there are some truths in there that are
Yep.
timeless.
All right. I'm all ears. Give us that wisdom.
So one of the most powerful takeaways
Yeah.
is the focus on self-awareness.
Okay.
Like really understanding yourself, your desires, your boundaries, what brings you pleasure.
Right.
That self-knowledge is crucial.
Okay.
Not just for your own fulfillment,
Yeah.
but for building those healthy relationships.
So it's about knowing what you want
Yeah.
and being able to communicate that. Out, right?
Exactly. Being open and honest, both verbally and non-verbally. The Kama Sutra really encourages couples
Okay.
to share their fantasies, explore each other's bodies, but to do it with respect.
Right.
To create that safe space
Yeah.
where both partners feel empowered.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Open communication is like the foundation
It really is.
of any strong relationship.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing that they recognize that, centuries ago.
Way back then.
Yeah. And beyond communicate.
Yeah.
The Kama Sutra also talks about mindfulness.
Yes, being present in the moment.
Right. Savoring each sensation.
Exactly.
Appreciating your partner. Really immersing yourself in that experience.
Shifting the focus away from performance
Okay.
and towards actually experiencing the journey.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for
It is.
a much deeper connection and more fulfilling experiences.
Absolutely.
Which is something I think we all want.
I think so.
Right.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah, where we're constantly bombarded with
As like House of
distraction.
Dutchers.
Right. It's like the Kama Sutra is reminding us
Yes.
to slow down, to tune out the noise.
Tune it out.
Yeah.
Reconnect with our bodies and our partners.
This has been an amazing deep dive.
It's a fascinating text.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I had a totally different idea
I think a lot of people do.
of what the Kama Sutra was.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just a guide
Oh, it's so much deeper.
to sexual positions. It's about relationships, self-discovery,
Yeah.
the art of living a fulfilling and pleasurable life.
It really is.
So much wisdom in there.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note,
Okay.
I think we'll wrap up our deep dive
Right.
into the Kama Sutra.
It's been a pleasure.
It has.
Yeah.
And I encourage all of our listeners
Yes.
to explore this ancient text with an open mind and a sense of curiosity.
You might be surprised
You might be.
by what you find.
And remember, intimacy is a journey,
It is.
not a destination.
Take your time, explore, communicate.
Yeah.
Most importantly, enjoy the ride.
Great advice.
Thank you.
And before we sign off,
Yes.
don't forget to check out those links in the description
Absolutely.
to support our channels,
Yes.
sign up for consultations, and help us reach 11 million people.
Let's do it.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,
Keep growing.
and keep those conversations going.
Absolutely.